Hello, my name's Bev, and I'd like to demonstrate how I would approach a portrait. This will be a wedding present from my niece and her new husband. What I did initially, enlarged it, and I transferred it with my graphite transfer, and then I went in with my mechanical pencil and did some fine detail work. I used masking fluid to protect some of the white areas. My goal is to have a very abstract background. So that's why I put some masking fluid on the edges, so that way when I do the background, I'll have it not float into my two portraits here. I also have the nice original file from the bride and groom, and I downloaded it to my computer. And what is an advantage of having a computer screen in front of you when you're doing your portrait is that you can adjust the cropping right in front of you and get that fine details of the facial features in the shadows. And I will have the camera going so that you can see what I'm doing. All right, so enjoy the process. Okay, so I think I'm ready. I've got my paints organized. It doesn't look like it's organized, but it is. I'm going to wet my background. I'm going to just try to create an abstract background. Laying the paper with just water. My book that I have different skin tone combinations, you'll see how I use different companies and colors of pigments. I have found through the years, through my inventory of pigments, that they all are different. And you notice across the page here, even the shades of ultramarine blue, how much it's all changed. So I had such an inventory of paints of different manufacturers and colors. It was nice just to go back to each of them, record what I have to see which of these colors are liftable that I can use with a wet brush, which ones are stainers. And it's so easy to find a certain pigment, certain color, just by having it referenced to how to head. Even you'll find that like this row here is cerulean blue, of how the different pigments look totally different. If you look at a tube of paint, they have a pigment number, and you can kind of see what their formula is. You can look online to see what ingredients that pigment color is made of. The cerulean blue, how different, that's what I realized, is that when I had compared different manufacturers, how different they are on my painting. Going back to my skin tones, I was experimenting with different formulas. Seeing this one, the genuine madder, rose genuine madder, as well as a lemon yellow. I think that would go well with my portrait. So when you're painting skin tones, have you noticed that I have put a very light value? And I tried to start thinking of where the darker values are. So when it's a darker in the shadow areas, then I used another brush to lighten it as I was dragging it where the light is coming from. So this is just the beginning of the skin tones, but it's a start of where the shadows are going to be laid out later. So now the shadows, I'm going to start introducing them by using a violet that I create with ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. Again, using two brushes, one to put it on and one to soften some of those edges. A lot of times when you're doing clothing, you see lost and found edges. Now, her lace, on her wedding dress. I've got some of it masked, and the darker areas start here at the bottom. So this brush is going to go on top. Just have a light shadow being cast, and you may or may not see these flowers in her wedding dress, but if it's seen, perfect. I've got the mask still. Now I'm not going to do the strap here till I get the masking fluid off, but I want to do some work with the shadows while the masking fluid is still on in certain areas. Let's look at the husband's shirt. So there is a shadow area here. Bring that down. Looks kind of it looks bright, too strong. So you can either use a wet brush to suck that up, or just use a paper towel. I do have some pencil guidelines showing me where those shadows are. So I'm just looking to see where my shadows are for my pencils. This vest, I'm just going to lay it just on the bottom part. Having this brush just to soften the top edges. This will be underneath the design. I did his vest. There was a lot of abstract shapes that I put in, and now I'm working on her tattoo. This is the very first time that I'm actually painting in watercolor a portrait with someone with a tattoo, so I have to make sure that I try to give the feeling of the tattoo, but yet not too strong of an image on here. I will probably put the light and medium values on right now and then add some dark areas later, but I'm just keep working away. This tattoo is of a microphone because she enjoys singing through the years, and so she's got a tattoo of a microphone with flowers on behind it. I'll just keep painting it. What color I'm using is cobalt blue. Did you notice I went right into the hairline? So there's no distinct line once I put the hair color on. So I'm putting in the medium values right now for the skin tones. So it's just playing with the shadows, putting it on to see if it's dark enough. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'll add a little bit darker values for the skin tones afterwards. So I'm just using just a paper clip here, trying to create those hairs while the paint is still wet. I can see some reds in his hair and some light brown, and there's some white hairs, so there's a whole bunch of different colors in his beard. So I'm slowly introducing these colors, letting them mix on here. And like I said, whenever I have some wet paint, I use the paper clip here. Move the paint a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to keep working away, looking at my reference, and always remembering to use my brush in the same direction as the hair. And then using this easy tool that I created to make the streaks. Before this burnt sienna dries, I want to introduce the brown. And just like his hair, I'm going to use my little tool here and push the paint. Using the reference as a guide of what direction that the hair is going. And it looks like it's mostly dark at the base of the hair, going into the hair, the flesh tones there. Again, use my fancy tool. Okay, so you see that I did her hair, and I have a special tool that I have been using just to give that idea of the hair being pulled in different directions. There you go. I'll come back and do some more painting after it's dry and take our masking fluid off. still want to take a few hours and walk by, take a quick glance, and a lot of times that helps you find where you just have to add that little bit extra darkness to your painting. So I hope you enjoy this video of a demonstration of how to do a portrait. I look at the shadows, the contrast, the shapes. So those are the three main things. I'm trying to get a little bit more abstract in some areas. So not an exact picture, because we don't want to make it look like a photograph, but a painting. So have fun painting.